The meaning of taking refuge in the triple gem, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. 1. Taking refuge, the first step on the path of practice. On the journey toward peace and enlightenment, the very first step for any follower of Buddhism is to take refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Taking refuge means to return and rely upon. We turn back from the paths of ignorance, confusion, and suffering, and take refuge in the light of wisdom and compassion found in the three jewels. This is not a mere religious ceremony, but a profound spiritual transformation, marking a turning point in one's life. Taking refuge is not just a verbal declaration of faith, it is an inner commitment. From now on, I place my trust in the triple gem. Follow the example of the awakened Buddha, live according to the noble teachings, and walk alongside the light of the monastic community. 2. Taking refuge in the Buddha, returning to your own awakened nature. When we say, "I take refuge in the Buddha," we are expressing our intention to return and rely upon the Buddha, the enlightened one who has transcended suffering and the cycle of birth and death. The Buddha is not merely a distant divine figure to be worshipped, but a living symbol of the potential for awakening within each of us. To take refuge in the Buddha does not mean to worship an image, but to follow his noble example and to train ourselves to become mindful, compassionate, and wise. The Buddha taught, "By oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil avoided. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another." Thus, taking refuge in the Buddha is the first step toward trusting in our own ability to awaken. It is a vow to walk the same path the Buddha once walked, gradually letting go of greed, hatred, and ignorance, and living a life of virtue, clarity, and inner peace. 3. Taking refuge in the Dharma, walking the path of liberation. The Dharma is the teaching of the Buddha, the path that leads to true happiness and liberation. When we say, "I take refuge in the Dharma," we are relying on the truth and choosing to walk away from deluded ways of living. The Dharma reveals the nature of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. It helps us transform afflictions into wisdom, anger into compassion, and sorrow into understanding. The Dharma is not only found in scriptures. It is alive in our breath, footsteps, gaze, and in every mindful moment. When we live with awareness, we are living in accordance with the Dharma. Taking refuge in the Dharma is a vow to live according to truth and virtue, to avoid being swept away by desires, anger, jealousy, or confusion. It is a commitment to study, contemplate, and practice so that each day we grow more peaceful, more loving, and more awake. 5. Taking refuge in the Sangha, walking with a mindful community. The Sangha is the community of those who practice according to the Buddha's teachings, who support one another on the spiritual path. When we say, "I take refuge in the Sangha," we are placing our trust in a spiritual family that shares our highest aspirations. No one can cross the ocean of suffering alone. We need spiritual friends, a mindful community, and noble examples to reflect, correct, and guide us. The Sangha reminds us that enlightenment is not a solo journey, but a collective unfolding. Each person is a flower, and together they make up the garden of awakening. With a Sangha, we are no longer alone. When we feel weak, there is support. When we stumble, there is encouragement and compassion. Taking refuge in the Sangha is a vow to live in harmony, patience, kindness, and humility. To let go of ego, to listen deeply, and to build a life of shared mindfulness and mutual care. 6. The triple gem, 3 pillars supporting the inner life. The Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are 3 precious jewels, like the 3 sturdy legs of a tripod that support the practitioner. Without one, the path becomes fragile and unbalanced. The Buddha is the teacher who has completed the journey. The Dharma is the path that leads us to peace and freedom. The Sangha is the community that walks with us. By taking refuge in the Triple Gem, we no longer walk alone through this turbulent life. We have a light to guide us, a hand to hold, and a home to return to whenever we feel lost. Taking refuge is transformation, not dependency. Some people misunderstand taking refuge as becoming submissive or dependent. But in truth, taking refuge is the highest form of inner freedom, the freedom from ignorance, suffering, and harmful habits. Taking refuge is a personal declaration of spiritual liberation. It is saying, I choose to live a mindful, compassionate life. I no longer follow ignorance and craving. I return to the light of understanding. The Buddha never forced anyone to follow him. He only showed the way. It is we who must walk it. 7. Taking refuge, a daily return. Taking refuge is not something done once and forgotten. Each day, each moment, we must ask ourselves, have I lived in accordance with my refuge today? Have I lived with mindfulness like the Buddha? Have I practiced the teachings of the Dharma? Have I been supportive and kind like a true member of the Sangha? Every morning, when we light incense and recite, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, it is not just a habit, but a deep reminder to return to goodness, truth, and inner peace. 8. The Triple Gem, a safe harbor in the stormy sea of life. In this ever-changing, impermanent world filled with suffering, what can we truly rely on? Wealth, status, even loved ones, all eventually fade. Only the Triple Gem offers a stable and timeless refuge. When life feels chaotic, take refuge in the Buddha to keep your heart clear and steady. When your mind is restless, return to the Dharma to remember that everything passes and suffering can be transformed. When you feel lonely, seek the Sangha to be heard, supported, and reminded of the noble path. 9. Final words. Taking refuge is the beginning of a beautiful life. Taking refuge does not turn us into saints overnight, but it is the beginning of a mindful, purposeful life. It is a declaration that says, I no longer follow the path of confusion. I choose the path of light. In a world of distractions and temptations, those who have taken refuge in the Triple Gem are like people holding a compass, knowing their direction, seeing the light, and having a place to return to when they feel lost. Dear friend, if your heart has ever been in pain, if you've ever searched for meaning or peace, then taking refuge in the Triple Gem is the doorway waiting for you. Walk through it with sincerity and humility, and you will see that the Buddha is not far away. He is the light within your own heart. If this message has helped you understand the deeper meaning of refuge, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel to help spread the light of the Dharma to many more hearts. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.